So, okay, I have a title in our child protection. This is a child protection in a nutshell. Parang sinamarize na po natin under school level of governance. So we are fellow child protection and legal wellness advocates tulad po ni na Attorney Rona, Attorney Rachel, Ma'am Che, and Ma'am Gina kanina. We are child protection advocates. So before we start, let me be your teacher for this time being, and I request you to get one piece of 1/4 sheet of pad paper and a ball pen. We will have a self-assessment in order for us to determine our level of awareness in child protection. So, okay, true or false lang po ito, 5 questions lang. So, let's begin. Okay po ba tayo? Ayun, ito po ang ating self-assessment, true or false lang po. We have 5 questions here. So I will give you 3 to 5 minutes to submit your answers. You can answer true or false. So let's begin. There is no right or wrong answers here. We are just trying to determine the level of awareness of our principals, teachers, guidance counselors, and other stakeholders. Okay, tapos na po ba tayong sumagot ng true or false? Para itry nating sagutin at nang malaman ang ating level of awareness. Can I have a raise of hand kung tapos po? Sir JP and Ma'am Elmira, kindly update me kasi hindi ko mabasa yung chat box. Marami pong nag-a-appear pag binabasa ko. Kung
Yes,
pwede
actually,
na po nating sagutin.
Yes. For everyone, okay na po ba tayo? So just please raise your hand or give us a thumbs up sign. Okay, so hindi po kailangan ilagay po sa chat.
Opo, hindi po kailangan. Kasi level of awareness po natin, self-assessment po ito.
Okay.
Wala pong grade.
Alright. So siguro,
Okay.
sir, pwede na po. I think a lot of people have finished.
Sige po, Ma'am Elmira. Thank you. And we will sagutin na po natin ang number 1. Teachers have no special parental authority over their students. Sagot po dito is false. Because teachers have special parental authority over their students. They are the second parents or in loco parentis with the students. So, false po yan. Number 2, corporal punishment is an act of positive discipline. False din po ulit ito. Because corporal punishment is a negative discipline. Hindi po siya positive discipline. Number 3, The school head shall forward the intake sheet to the disciplining authority within 72 hours from receipt of the complaint or report. False din po ito kasi it must be within 48 hours dapat, hindi po 72 hours from receipt of the complaint or report. Okay, number 4, the regional director is the disciplining authority over all teaching personnel, including non-teaching personnel in the entire region. False din po ito kasi hindi po entire region ang jurisdiction ng ating regional director when it comes to non-teaching personnel. Meron po tayong SDS na disciplining authority sa division office and school level with regard to non-teaching personnel. So false din po ang number 4. And lastly, number 5, the reporting of child abuse and bullying incident is not mandatory. Klaro po ito sa discussion ni Ma'am Gina. So false po ito. The reporting of child abuse and bullying incident is mandatory. So lahat po ng sagot is false. So sino po ang nakalima? 4, 3, 2, 1. So alam nyo na po, may self-assessment po kayo tungkol sa relevant aspects of child protection. Okay? So we go to our next slide. The why and how formula. Bakit po ba natin ginagawa itong capacity building? Because ignorance of the law excuses no one from compliance therewith. Under Article 3 of the new Civil Code, sinasabi po dyan na ignorance of the law is not an excuse. Everyone is conclusively presumed to know the law. So may presumption po yun. Conclusive presumption pa that we know the law. As public servants, we are vulnerable to civil, criminal, and administrative suit. Ito po yung sinasabi nating threefold liability. It's either civil, criminal, and administrative suit. Yung discussion po ni Ma'am Gina regarding the fine, imposition of fine, it is a civil or criminal aspect in violation of our child protection laws. So ang administrative suit po is merely imposition of reprimand, admonition, or suspension from service. Yun po ang administrative level po natin. Wala pong fine or damages. So the how formula, this activity is one way of determining that we are capable and have awareness on child protection. So we have legal wellness education and capacity building activities in order to ensure the compliance of DepEd orders, laws, and regulations of the Department of Education and other statutory laws. Because public servants should keep abreast on the laws or at least have a working knowledge on the laws. Okay? So we have the state policies on child protection. The state shall defend the right of children to assistance, including proper care and nutrition and special protection from all forms of neglect, abuse, cruelty, exploitation, and other conditions prejudicial to their development. Nasasaad po sa ating fundamental law of the land, ang ating 1987 Philippine Constitution. And international law also provides protection from children from all forms of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Ito po yung United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, or the UNCRC. Next, we have statutory laws on child protection, the Family Code of the Philippines and the new Civil Code of the Philippines. Article 218 of the Family Code provides that the school, its administrators and teachers, and or individual entity or institution engaged in child care shall have the special parental authority and responsibility over the minor child while under their supervision, instruction, or custody. Authority and responsibility shall apply to all authorized school activities, whether inside or outside the school premises. Basta authorized school activity po yan, whether inside or outside the school premises. Article 2180 simply provides that teachers have imputed vicarious liability based on their special parental authority to their students. Because as I said a while ago, they are in loco parentis with their students. So there is an imputed vicarious liability in case of damage or injury. Next, we discuss also the relevant DepEd orders and DepEd policies. Ang unang-una po natin is DepEd Order number 40, series of 2012. Ito po yung DepEd Child Protection Policy. It covers all forms of child abuse and other prohibited acts. Na-discuss na po ni Ma'am Gina o si Attorney Rachel and Attorney Rona yung definitions ng mga child abuse and other prohibited acts. And we have also the DepEd Order number 55, series of 2013, the implementing rules and regulations of Republic Act 10627 or the Anti-Bullying Act of 2013, which covers bullying and other forms of bullying. I-define po natin mamaya yung bullying and child abuse. We have also DepEd Order number 18, series of 2015. Ito po yung nagko-cover ng ating children at risk and children in conflict with the law, the CAR and the CICL. This DepEd order is in compliance with the Republic Act 9344, the Juvenile Justice and Welfare Act of 2016, mandating DepEd to provide schemes for the protection of vulnerable learners. Kaya meron tayong DepEd order number 18. Ang mga technical working group dito na nag-craft ng ating DepEd orders is multidisciplinary, interagency. Kasali po dyan yung RJJWC, and DSWD. And also our law enforcement authorities such as the PNP and the DOJ. So we have also our regional memorandum here in DepEd Calabarzon. This is the Regional Child Protection Policy and Anti-Bullying Manual of 2019. So lahat po ba ng school ay may copy ng RCPPA Manual? 2019 po yung mga ito. So kailangan sa ngayon, currently, may kopya po tayo ng Regional Memorandum. Kasi dito sa ating Regional Memorandum, it provides for the Code of Conduct, duties and responsibilities of DepEd personnel, the do's and don'ts, and the liabilities and accountabilities in case of violation of the DepEd rules and regulations and the statutory laws na nabanggit natin kanina. Okay, we have the definition of important terms. Hindi ko po sinali lahat ng definition of terms kasi mahaba po. Pinili ko po yung mga applicable sa atin. It is child protection. It is defined as refers to programs, services, procedures, and structures that are intended to prevent and respond to abuses, exploitation, discrimination, and violence against children. Yan po ang definition ng universal definition ng child protection. I-define din po natin ang initial contact. Ang initial contact under DepEd setting refers to the first immediate contact or separate private intake interview with the alleged child victim and bully in the presence of his or her parents or guardians for purposes of filling out the intake sheet, gathering information on the alleged child abuse and bullying incident to determine the immediate safety and levels of threat in order to develop proper intervention strategies. Ang initial contact po, it does not involve the investigation or clarificatory questioning on child victim or bully. Tama po si Ma'am Gina kanina nang sinabi niya na ang teacher is not an investigator. Meron pong proseso ang DepEd. Kailangan ng disciplining authority mag-issue ng memorandum constituting you as a fact-finding investigator. Kung wala po yon, tapos bigla kang nag-investigate, you can be administratively liable for abuse of authority because wala kang authority na mag-conduct ng investigation on child abuse or bullying. Kailangan po may memorandum sa disciplining authority. Palinaw po yun. Okay, let's go to the next. Case management. A procedure to plan, seek, and monitor the services brought about by child abuse and bullying incidents. The management of child abuse cases is multi-sectoral, interagency, and multidisciplinary. They are working together as a team to provide appropriate protection to children who are victims of abuse, neglect, and exploitation. Yan po ang definition ng case management. It is multi-sectoral, interagency from the national level to the LGUs. Multidisciplinary, kasama po ang lawyers, psychologists, psychiatrists, and social workers natin. Multidisciplinary. And the guidance teacher. Next, the definition of fact-finding in fact-finding documentation. Matatagpuan po ang fact-finding documentation sa bullying. Kaya makikita po natin yung flowchart ng bullying natin sa DepEd level. This refers to separate private intake interview with the bully and the child victim in the presence of their parents or guardian. Kailangan po they are assisted by their parents or guardian. Kasi kung wala, there is a violation of the rule on examination of a child witness. May Supreme Court po tayong circular na nagsasabing bawal pong interviewin ang bully or child without the assistance of their parents or guardian. Kailangan po in the presence. Number 2, determine the levels of threat and development intervention strategies. Inform the victim and the parent or guardians as to the steps to be undertaken to prevent further acts of bullying or retaliation. And make appropriate recommendations to the CPC. Ano pong CPC? This is the Child Protection Committee na create under DO 40 and DO 55 on proper interventions, referral, and monitoring. Ano po ang definition ng child abuse? I-park na po natin ang definition ng child abuse kasi lahat ng speakers natin na-explain na po ang definition ng child abuse. So let's go. And we go to the bullying. This refers to any severe or repeated written, verbal, or electronic expression or physical act or gesture by one or more students towards another student that has the effect of actually causing the latter reasonable fear of physical or emotional harm or damage to his or her property or belongings, creating a hostile environment at the school, infringing on the rights of the other student at school, or materially and substantially disrupting the education process or the orderly operation of the school, such as but not limited to the following. Yung mga makikita natin sa succeeding slides, hindi po ito exclusive. So ito po, 1 to 5, any unwarranted physical contact between the bully and the victim, any act that causes damage to a victim's psyche or emotional well-being, any slanderous statement or accusation that causes the victim undue emotional distress, and cyberbullying or any bullying done through use of technology or any electronic means. Uso po ngayon ang cyberbullying kasi nasa online learning po tayo. And any other form of bullying such as social bullying because of the child's origin or ethnicity, and gender-based bullying because of her sexual orientation or gender identity. Matatawag pong bullying po ang mga ito. So we define CAR. A while ago, Ma'am Che classified the child at risk. So by way of repetition, mas maganda pong rini-repeat po natin para mas madaling matandaan ng ating principals, teachers, and guidance counselors or guidance teachers or coordinators. It is a child who is vulnerable to and at risk of behaving in a way that can harm himself or herself or others, or vulnerable and at risk of being pushed and exploited because of personal, family, and social circumstances such as, marami po itong enumeration, being abused or exploited, being abandoned or neglected, coming from a dysfunctional or broken family, or being without a parent or a guardian. Being out of school youth is a child at risk. Being a street child, being a member of a gang, fraternity, or sorority, and living in a community with a high level of criminal or drug abuse, and living in situations of armed conflicts. Yung situations of armed conflicts, matatagpuan po yan sa Mindanao or some part of Visayas kasi may armed conflict po doon. So, kanino po i-refer ang CAR? Kung may registered guidance counselor ang school, i-refer po sa RGC. Kung wala po, ang guidance teacher or coordinator for immediate intervention. So, punta po tayo sa CICL. Definition ng CICL. A child who is alleged as, accused of, or adjudged as having committed an offense under Philippine laws. Ang CICL ay nakagawa na po siya ng offense, either civil or criminal offense, such as theft or drug offenses. Considered na po siya as CICL. So, pag may CICL sa school, saan po tayo magre-refer? We refer immediately to the local Social Welfare Development Office or the DSWD social worker, PNP or the Women and Child Protection Desk or other law enforcement agencies. For them to refer to Bahay Pag-asa or child caring institutions for diversion or intervention program. Kasi sa CICL po kasi, as a substitute parent, ang teachers, sino po ba ang may gustong mag-apprehend or mag-arrest sa ating CICL kung meron po sa school? Di po ba masakit sa ating dibdib na sila ay ipa-aresto? So ang gagawin natin, i-refer na lang po natin sa proper authorities para sila na po ang mag-aresto or mag-apprehend sa ating CICL sa school. Yun po ay para maiwasan din yung breach of contract, breach of trust and confidence between the teacher and the student. So sa CICL, mere referral lang po tayo. Important aspects to consider in child protection. The paramount and primordial consideration is the best interest of the child. Ito po ang nangunguna na important aspects in child protection, the best interest of the child. Number 2, the confidentiality rule, both with the child and the teacher offender. Kasi sa child, we withheld the identity of the child victim by blotting out or redacting the document. Huwag nating i-divulge ang identity ng ating child victim. Gawin po natin sa document is i-rename po natin siya. Kung ang pangalan niya is Juan de la Cruz, gawin po nating AAA, student AAA, pupil AAA. Kung marami po sila, pupil BBB, pupil CCC. Ganun po ang pag-maintain ng confidentiality rule. And for the teacher who is complained of in violating the child abuse, pwede din po under Magna Carta for public school teachers na providing that no publicity in the pending administrative case of a teacher offender. Kasi kung pinablish po natin yon o kaya dinivulge natin sa iba, we will also be held liable administratively. Ang penalty po nito in unlawful disclosure of confidential information is minimum po is 6 months and 1 day to 1 year. Mabigat po ang unlawful disclosure na penalty. So we should also consider our teacher offender. Ito po yung teacher protection, the Magna Carta for public school teachers. And the school as a zone of peace and a safe place conducive to learning. And no contact policy. Sinasaad po ng ating DO40 na a child's face or head is a no contact zone. Never po nating hahawakan, sasampalin ang face or head ng ating eskwela. No contact zone po yun. The moment po na ginawa nyo yun, you can be held administratively liable for misconduct through child abuse. And DepEd has zero tolerance policy in case of violation of child abuse and bullying incidents. So DepEd as a whole and as the disciplining authority does not tolerate violations of child abuse. Lalong-lalo na po kung ang offender natin is public school teacher or teaching personnel. And next is positive discipline, the imposition of non-punitive sanctions. In positive discipline, we must consider the well-being of our student. Hindi po tayo dapat nag-i-impose ng punitive sanctions. Kasi may positive discipline policy po tayo na defined ng DO40 or the DepEd Child Protection Policy. And no learner shall be left behind. Ito po ang battle cry ng DepEd that every learner shall have an accessible, relevant, and liberating education consistent with the EFA, Education for All. And lastly, no amicable settlement. Ang child abuse o bullying incident ay hindi po brought out in order to have an amicable settlement. Bawal na bawal po ang amicable settlement in cases of child abuse and bullying. For example, pinunta sa barangay, sabi ng barangay, mag-settle na lang po kayo para matapos na yan. Bawal po yon na mag-settle ang parties or kaya sa school sila mag-settle. Kasi we are mandated by law to report any incident of bullying or child abuse. Kaya kahit hearsay man yan or anonymous, basta't may ebidensya and corroborating evidence, the disciplining authority can initiate a complaint against a public school teacher who violates child abuse, who in violation of child abuse laws and regulations. So motu proprio complaint ang tawag doon. Kaya kung mapapansin nyo, yung mga public school teachers natin sa DepEd Calabarzon, kung ang DepEd Department of Education ang motu proprio complainant, inadapt na po nila na sila ang complainant. Hindi na po yung private witnesses or yung victim o kaya yung parents. Pwede pong maging motu proprio complainant ang ating regional director as the disciplining authority or the SDS as the disciplining authority of the non-teaching personnel in the division and school levels. So malaking knowledge po na no amicable settlement in child abuse cases. What to do? Nabanggit na po ni Ma'am Gina ito na we need to respond by reporting the incident of child abuse or bullying incident or any CAR or CICL. Sabi po sa batas, any person or school personnel shall immediately report or make sumbong, kung sa Tagalog, any incident of child abuse or bullying, any CAR or CICL, either oral or in written form. The nature of reporting is mandatory by the word shall. It connotes a mandatory character. Tama po ba na ang shall it connotes a mandatory character? May sumubok po sa ating Supreme Court na ang shall daw na word ay hindi mandatory. So may Supreme Court decision tungkol dito. So from the next slide, dinigest ko po ang Supreme Court decision na ito. So i-discuss po natin. Ito po siya. The Supreme Court decision regarding the mandatory character of the word shall. It is decided on November 16, 2016. The facts of the case is that one virtual corporation or the OVP and Hughes Electronics entered into a contract for equipment and installation services. In the contract, there is an arbitration clause providing that in case of breach of contract, the parties shall attempt to resolve any dispute, controversy, or differences which may arise between them through good faith negotiations. OBP was insured by UCPB General Insurance Company. OBP failed to pay Hughes Electronics for its services. Thus, there was a breach of contract. Accordingly, Hughes Electronics immediately demanded payment of sum of money plus damages from insurer UCPB. Kasi si UCPB, in-insure niya yung OBP. So the issue here is, can Hughes Electronics immediately demand payment for its services to OBP? Ang sabi ng Supreme Court, in this case, the ruling is no. Hughes Electronics cannot demand payment without first undergoing good faith negotiations with OBP, as provided in the arbitration clause of their contract. Jurisprudence and statutory construction teach us that the word shall connotes a mandatory character. It indicates a word or command. Therefore, the parties are ordered to refer the case for arbitration. So yun po yung the word shall connotes a mandatory character. It is not only a moral obligation to do, but also a civil obligation to do. So we must comply and obey. We go now to the reporting and intervention in the school level of Department of Education. Problem areas in the procedures of reporting child abuse and bullying incidents under DO 40 series of 2012 and DO 55 series of 2013. May mga problem areas po tayo na na-observe. May 4 po. Who are authorized school personnel to receive report or make sumbong or complaint? Who are authorized to conduct initial contact or intake interview with the child victim or bully in the presence of their parents or guardians? Who are authorized to conduct interventions? Who are authorized to report or transmit the intake sheet or supporting documents to SDO or regional office? Wala po tayong problema sa CAR and CICL because they 18 series of 2015 has a clear guidelines with respect to CICL. Kaya nga, sabi ko kanina, as a teacher, we are substitute parent and labag po sa ating kalooban na sila ay i-apprehend o i-arrest kung may violation sila civilly or criminally. So what do? We refer them to the law enforcement agencies. Problem areas. Who are the reporters? Sino po itong mga sumbongera at sumbongera natin? Ang reporters na po ito ay by way of recap, nasabi po natin kanina na any person or school personnel shall immediately report or make sumbong any incident of child abuse or bullying, any CAR or CICL. Any person such as the victim or parents or guardian, teachers and other school personnel and students who has personal knowledge of the incident. Kailangan may personal knowledge na may nangyaring child abuse or bullying incident. Kasi in the courts of law, hearsay is not an evidence unless it is corroborated by convincing evidence or testimonial or documentary evidence. So there is a need that yung reporter natin has a personal knowledge. Or kung hearsay man yun, it can be corroborated by testimonies of other persons who has personal knowledge on the incident. Ganun po. So whom should we report and refer in case of CAR? Of course, nasa DepEd po tayo, so immediately report first to the school head and notify the parents and guardian and refer to RGC or guidance teacher or coordinator kung wala po tayong registered guidance counselor for immediate intervention. And for the CICL, immediately report to the school head and the law enforcement agency, such as the PNP WCPD. Notify the parents or guardians. Refer also to RGC or guidance for immediate intervention. Kung hindi po kaya ng ating RGC or guidance teacher or coordinator, i-refer po niya ito sa DSWD, sa social worker ng DSWD for further intervention kasi sila po ang trained professionals regarding this one. So you can also refer the CICL to Public Attorney's Office for legal assistance. Kasi nga po, gumawa na po sila ng offense, civil or criminal offense such as theft or drug cases. Labas na po ang DepEd doon na mag-apprehend or mag-arrest sa kanila. So we need to refer. That is a referral system under DepEd DO 55 series of 2015 and yes, that is NDO 18 series of 2015. Okay. So for child abuse incident and bullying incident, where and whom to report and refer. For child abuse incident, immediately report to the school head and notify the parents or guardian and immediately refer them to the RGC or the guidance for immediate intervention. Kasi kailangan po pag may child abuse, may first aid po or the initial contact. Kailangan pong may agarang panlunas physically or mentally or socially sa child victim. And kung hindi po kaya ng ating school or kung walang RGC or walang guidance teacher or coordinator, pwede po nating i-refer sa trained professionals such as the DSWD social worker for further intervention. For bullying incident, we should also immediately report to the school head or to any school personnel or to the school discipline committee if there is one. Ano po ba itong school discipline committee? Sa school nyo po ba may school discipline committee? Ito po yung tinatawag natin na prefect of discipline. Kung may prefect of discipline po kayo, pwede pong i-report doon kasi they are mandated to intervene for bullying incident. Ang basis po nito sa prefect of discipline is under 2000 DEX manual on the rules on student discipline. Sinasaad po doon ay the school head shall appoint any teacher who is knowledgeable or has capacity to perform the functions of a student discipline committee or the prefect of discipline. Kung wala pong prefect of discipline, sa school head po tayo magre-report or to any school personnel. And immediately notify the parents or guardians. Same referral with child abuse for intervention. Pareho lang din po yung referral mechanisms natin ng child abuse and bullying. The templated forms to be used. It is provided under DO 40 series of 2012, DO number 55 series of 2013 po dapat yan, and DO 18 series of 2015. The commonly used forms is the intake sheet in cases of child abuse and bullying, or the intake form for CICL or CAR. Magkakaiba lang po yung pangalan pero almost the same po ang contents po niyan. So there is also the profiling and initial risk assessment tools for CAR and CICL. And ito po ang commonly used for the referral system. It is referral for service form. Naka-attach po ito sa mga nasabi nating DepEd order. Kaya kung wala pa po kayong forms na ganito, pwede po nyong i-print out and para magamit po ng ating RGC or guidance teacher or coordinator sa guidance office. We go now to the CPC, the composition of Child Protection Committee. All public elementary and secondary schools shall establish a functional CPC. Dapat po functional, hindi lang po for formality and compliance purposes. Dapat po yung CPC natin is functional. Ang members po nito is the school head or the school administrator, the guidance counselor, the guidance teacher, or the guidance coordinator kung wala po tayong registered guidance counselor. Teacher representative as appointed by the faculty club. The parent representative as designated by the PTA. And the student representative as designated by the student body government or the student supreme council. And last member is the barangay representative, preferably the barangay council for the protection of children. Dapat po member po siya ng BCPC to be a member of the CPC. Ano po ang functions ng CPC sa school? To initiate, to develop, implement, and ensure. To initiate school protection, school child protection, and anti-bullying policy. Dapat sila po ang nag-i-initiate dyan. Si school, kailangan may child protection and anti-bullying manual. Lahat po ba ng school, public schools natin sa DepEd Calabarzon nagko-comply po dito? Lahat po ay may child protection and anti-bullying manual sa school natin. Kung wala pa po, katukin nyo na po ang ating CPC at nang sila ay makagawa. And function din po nila is mag-initiate ng information dissemination programs and activities. Coordinate with the PNP, WCPD, LSWDO, or the LEA, law enforcement agencies or authorities, and NGOs or civic organizations. Kasi po may partnership linkages po tayo tungkol sa child protection. So hindi lang po sa government agencies, marami pa po tayong partners and stakeholders na tumutulong sa atin. Tulad ngayon na may Rotary Club of Metro Escolta, the Legal Advocates for Children's Welfare, and the CPT-CSA. Sila po ang ating NGOs or civic organizations na tumutulong to ensure the safety of our batang Calabarzon. Okay, to develop or implement the school-based referral or monitoring system for identifying students at risk, positive and effective measures or procedures in child protection and child support, and to ensure assistance to parents, identification and referral of reporting of cases, respect for child's rights in matters affecting their welfare and well-being. Yan po ang functions ng ating Child Protection Committee. We go to bullying incidents. Ano po ba ang ating immediate responses kung mayroong bullying incident sa ating eskwelahan? Immediately call the attention of any school personnel or the SP. The SP shall intervene by immediately stopping the bully or the retaliation, separating the students involved, removing the victim or bully from the site, ensuring the victim's safety. The victim po should stay at a safe place. Hindi lang po safe place, dapat may safe person din siyang kasama. Safe place and a safe person. And seek medical attention. Kung nag-seek po tayo ng medical attention, we should ensure that we will secure a copy of the medical legal certificate issued by the attending physician. Kasi that is a part of evidence. And number 5, bringing the bully to the guidance counselor, guidance teacher, guidance coordinator for proper intervention, and to report the incident to the school head. This is the flowchart of bullying incident in the Department of Education at the school level. Wala pa pong investigation ito kasi hindi pa po nare-report sa ating disciplining authority. So ito po ang flowchart natin at the school level. There is a bullying incident. The reporters na diniscuss natin kanina will report to the school head or the guidance office or any school personnel. The school head or the guidance conducts initial contact, fact-finding, and documentation. Ito pong initial contact and fact-finding and documentation, na-define na po natin kanina sa definition of terms. So pagkatapos niyan, the school head guidance will fill out the intake sheet. Pagkatapos ng filling out ng intake sheet, you should immediately forward the intake sheet within 48 hours. Magkasabay po sana yan, yung forwarding ng intake sheet within 48 hours and the referral for immediate intervention. Kasi ang intervention po natin dapat immediate. First aid kit po natin, first aid kit po ng guidance office yan na kailangan pag may bullying incident, agad-agad, on the spot, may immediate intervention na. Huwag nyo na pong antayin yung 48 hours na matapos o kaya within 48 hours to conduct the immediate intervention. Kaya nga po yung word is immediate. Kaya kailangan i-comply natin yung immediate intervention. Kung hindi po kaya ng ating school or walang RGC or walang guidance, i-refer po natin iulit ito sa trained professionals for further intervention. It is a sad reality na talagang ang school natin is kulang na kulang sa RGCs or the Registered Guidance Counselor. Ang DepEd po, inaamin po na talagang kulang po sa personnel with regard to RGCs. So nahihirapan po ang ating guidance teacher or guidance coordinator na mag-conduct ng immediate intervention, lalong-lalo na pag wala pa po silang na-attendan na capacity building with regards to immediate intervention. So ang gagawin po ng school, i-refer na lang po sa trained professionals as the DSWD, social worker, or any NGOs or civic organizations for further intervention. And kung in case of serious offenses and serious cases na ginawa ng ating offending student, i-refer po natin siya sa LEA. And ito yung law enforcement authorities tulad ng police, tulad ng DOJ, NBI, or any other law enforcement authorities who is tasked to apprehend or arrest the offending student because of serious offenses. Yung example ng serious offenses natin is due to bullying, nakasaksak na po siya ng kanyang eskwela. That is a serious offense. Kasi there is a repercussion for his actions. So kailangan nating i-refer siya sa law enforcement authorities, pero wag din nating hayaan na wala siyang immediate intervention. Meron pa ring immediate intervention such as counseling. And the CPC monitors the implementations of these intervention programs. So ito na po, pagkatapos nun, within the 48 hours or immediately, the school head forwards the intake sheet to the disciplining authority. And after forwarding it, pag bullying incident po ito, the school head as the manager and administrator of the school will conduct the disciplinary proceedings. Kung wala pong in place na student discipline committee, gaya ng nasabi ko kanina, pwede po siyang magpatulong sa CPC in collaboration with the CPC to conduct the disciplinary proceedings. Pero in the long run, ang decision is manggagaling po talaga sa school head, sa principal. Siya po ang mag-i-issue ng decision kung guilty po ang ating offending student, mapapatawan po siya ng non-punitive sanction in accordance with the POSD and the restorative justice principle. Iniiwasan po natin na mag-impose ng punitive sanctions kasi it will have a repercussions to the child well-being and development. So malinaw po ang ating flowchart of bullying incident. Magkakaiba po mamaya, i-discuss din po natin ang flowchart ng child abuse incident. Medyo may pagkakaiba po ng konti. Okay? In student discipline proceedings, we should consider or we shall consider due process. The following are minimum requirements of due process shall be complied with in disciplinary proceedings concerning the offending student. 4 po ang linalaman ng ating DO 55 regarding the due process. Number 1, the student and the parents or guardian shall be informed of the complaint in writing. dapat po immediately ini-inform natin yung student o kaya parent ng student or guardian tungkol sa reklamo na inihain sa kanyang anak in writing. Number 2, the student shall be given the opportunity to answer the complaint in writing with the assistance of the parents or guardian. Kailangan po bigyan natin siya ng pagkakataon na idepensa ang kanyang sarili. Kung bakit po ganun ang nangyari, may bullying incident. We should give the offending student an opportunity to answer the complaint in writing. Lagi pong in writing kasi kung oral form, hindi po natin ma-actionan agad. Kasi legally speaking, dapat properly documented po lahat ng proceedings natin. On number 3, the decision of the school head shall be in writing, stating the facts and the reasons for the decision. May facts po, may basis, may legal basis kung paano po siya nag-arrive ng kanyang decision. And the decision of the school head may be appealed to the school's division office or to the school's division superintendent as the disciplining authority. At number 5, kung hindi pa po kontento yung parent sa decision ng ating school head na ina-affirm ng ating SDS, pwede pong sumangguni sa regional office. Pwede po niyang i-appeal ulit ang decision ng SDS affirming yung decision ng school head for review of the regional director. And after the issuance of the regional director of its decision, final and executory na po yun. And yan po, na-comply na po ang ating minimum requirements of due process. Kung meron po yung 4 na yan, hindi na po kayo mag-aalala kung kayo ay compliant or non-compliant. As long as there is substantial compliance with due process as enunciated by DO 55, itong 1, 2, 3, 4, you are at peace na hindi po kayo kakasuhan administratively for neglect of duty or ignorance of the law. Substantial compliance po ang kailangan lang sa due process in student discipline. Imposition of non-punitive sanctions in case of student discipline. Bakit po non-punitive? Bakit po hindi punitive sanction? Non-punitive kasi this is in accordance with our positive and non-violent discipline or the POSD and the restorative justice principle under our 9344. POSD is defined as a way of thinking and a holistic construction and proactive approach to teaching that helps children develop appropriate thinking and behavior in the short term and long term and fosters self-discipline, using everyday situations and challenges as opportunities to teach lifelong skills and values to students. In restorative justice naman, it is a process of resolving conflicts with the maximum involvement of all the parties, the victim, the offender, and the community as a whole, in order to achieve these 4: reparation for the victim, reconciliation of the offender and the offended and the community, reassurance of reintegration in the society, and enhancement of public safety through preventive strategies. Preventive strategies in order to deter the offending student from reoffending para hindi na po siya uulit. Yan po ang restorative justice principle. Ito na po ang flowchart ng ating child abuse incident at the school level. There is a child abuse incident. Ini-report po ng ating reporters sa school head. School head or guidance counselor conducts initial contact. The school head or guidance counselor fills out the intake sheet and immediately refer the child for immediate intervention. Kung hindi po kaya ng ating guidance teacher or coordinator, pwede po niyang i-refer for further intervention to our trained professionals. And there should be also a follow-up of the progress of intervention. Hindi po pwedeng porket na-refer mo na, tapos na ang inyong function doon. Kailangan may follow-up on the progress of that intervention. And the CPC will monitor the implementation of the intervention programs. And the school head forwards the intake sheet within 48 hours to the disciplining authority. Pagka-forward niya ng intake sheet, doon na po mag-i-start yung fact-finding investigation na sinasabi natin para ma-determine kung may administrative liability yung offender na teacher natin. And gaya ng sabi ko kanina, a teacher is not an investigator, so the discipline authority shall issue a memorandum designating members of the fact-finding investigation to conduct immediate, cautious, and comprehensive investigation. And after the investigation, magsasubmit po yung committee ng report sa ating disciplining authority, and i-review po ng disciplining authority yung report na yon. Kung may prima facie evidence na sampahan ng kaso ang ating public school teacher, mag-i-issue po siya ng formal charge. Kung wala pong prima facie evidence, may i-dismiss po yung kaso kasi wala pong nangyaring child abuse. Kung tutuloy po ang kaso at na formal charge ang ating public school teacher, may another investigation. Ito po yung formal investigation na tinatawag po natin. At ang ating regional director ay mag-i-issue ulit ng another memorandum designating the formal investigation committee to conduct the formal investigation. Ang formal investigation po ay nangyayari sa ating schools division office. Karaniwan ang members nito nakalagay po sa Magna Carta for public school teachers. It is the SDS or the ASDS, supervisory level, the EPS, the faculty level, the members of the teachers organization. Yun po, yung tatlong mandatory members ng ating formal investigation committee. So, ang flowchart lang po natin is hanggang sa school level lang po. So, pumunta po tayo sa safe online learning. Kasi nasa online learning po tayo. So, dinagdag ko po ang DOJ, in-issue ng DOJ, Office of the Cybercrime, na guidelines on the use of video conferencing in online conferences. Isang slide na lang po at nang mukhang overtime po tayo. Ito po yung guidelines na in-issue ng DOJ, Office of the Cybercrime. Dinigest ko na rin po para mabilisan. Ginawa kong checklist to safe online learning. Number 1, never share meeting room credentials to non-students, the ID and the password. Wag na po nating i-share ang meeting room credentials. And number 2, always set meeting configurations as follows. Individually accept participants' request to join the online class. Provide a standard naming instruction for the students. Hindi po pwedeng nag-a-appear sa Zoom iPhone 10 o iPhone 11 o iPhone 20. Kailangan po yung pangalan ng estudyante, yung eskwela natin ang nag-a-appear at ang kanyang grade level. Start the meeting with students' video off. Ito po, kailangan po pag-start ng meeting, naka-off pa po ang video. Kung during classroom assessment na po o nagsimula na po ang ating classroom learning, pwede na po nilang i-open. And require a password from the students. Mute audio for students upon entry and disable their desktops and screen share except for the host. Kailangan pong nakamute to avoid the disruption or disturbances. And naka-disable po yung screen share kasi baka biglang may nag-i-screen share na iba ang lumalabas sa ating screen. Makikita po lahat ng estudyante nyo. And number 3, do not allow students to join before the host. Do not allow them to rename themselves. Send messages to their classmates. Do not allow students to access file or transfer and share their screens. Do not allow students to use annotation tools to add information to shared screens. and do not allow them to share whiteboard during the online class. Do not allow students to change their background with any selected image. Karaniwan po, yung pag sa Zoom webinars, makikita po natin yung mga participants, iba po yung background nila, parang nasa Japan sila, nasa US, hindi po pwede yun. As much as possible, yung background nila is yung sa bahay po nila. Kaya po we encourage our students to fix the work or the online room nila sa kanilang bahay para maging temporary classroom. Kasi ang bahay is the extension of the school. Due to this online learning or the distance learning, ang bahay po ng ating estudyante is an extension of our school. So we have custody of our students even if they are at their homes. And number 4, never leave your students alone in the virtual classroom. Kasi kung wala po ang teacher niyan, baka mamaya may magbubuli o kaya kung ano-ano ang sinasabi nila kasi wala pong nagsusupervise sa kanila in the virtual classroom. Never leave them. And number 5, always update the online platform application to its latest version. Ayun lang po. And I will give you this parting message. It takes a village to raise a batang Calabarzon. It is indeed a community effort to raise a batang Calabarzon to be a law-abiding citizen and pag-asa ng ating bayan. We have 5 vitamin C's to do this: compliance, coordination, collaboration, cooperation, and complementary roles and responsibilities. So thank you and God bless.